Baylor now 9-2 on the year. Texas Tech coming up on Saturday, close out the regular season. Still hopes of being in the Big 12 championship game. And Ricky Thompson had a close personal view right there on the sidelines of Baylor and Kansas State in Manhattan. A physical, knockdown, drag-out, back alley street fight. Is that a good way to put it, Ricky?
Yeah, it really was. It was nice to see a player or two in there when there was not somebody from either K-State or Baylor down on the field. It was, I think, unusually, I've never seen that many guys go down in one game, and they were all legitimate. And even when they weren't, I just think of one play in particular that Abram Smith lowered his shoulder on a 165-pound cornerback. And if I was that guy, I would have been trying to untie his shoes and not take him on up high, because I think Abram nearly killed him. It was just a very physical game from start to finish. But you know what? On the road like that, when you win a game that's that physical and that important, that goes a long way for the confidence of a football team.
Ricky, that was not a blowout by any stretch of the imagination, but they felt in control the whole time. And even when they weren't scoring, it just felt like they knew that they had that game. Did you get that feeling?
Yeah, I really did. I thought the only turning point at all in that game, obviously, is when we had the offside. Had them stopped. We're up 14-0. Force a punt, and then we line up offsides. And then the next play, Vaughn goes, 75 yards, 74 yards, and it's 14-7. But then you come back, your quarterback gets hurt, you're driving. Second play that the kid's in, Chapin, you go for 4th and 6, and you pick it up. And when we did that, I'm thinking, you know what? these guys have this. They're going to be fine. You get that field goal before half going at 17-7. Even when they come out and kick it and it's 17-10, you never really felt threatened. I'm sure the team did. I'm sure they felt like this is too close, but I just didn't think Kansas State had what it took offensively to put our defense in a real bind, and sure enough, they did.
Ricky, Blake Shapen, I mean, you mentioned him. You've seen him mostly on the sidelines so far in his career, but gets the call, and it's not in mop-up duty. Comes in, as you said, they attacked right away. He was throwing it around, using his legs, and having to make some very important decisions. Just what did you think of the cool, calm, and collected nature once he got some of those nerves out, obviously, of Blake Shapen in that second half?
Well, I don't know how you could have asked for anything better. I tell you what, Craig, he came in, and his first drop back, he dropped, he set his feet, and they didn't move. He sat there for a 3 or 4 count before he delivered that ball, and delivered it on the money, and he did that all night. I think he was sacked once maybe, had a couple of runs, the really big run, 28-yard run that was at a critical time, and I don't know how you would deliver the ball any better. I tell you what, he's got such a quick release. I just think back, it shows my age, back Dan Marino and those guys who kind of cocked it by the ear and let it fly, and he's just like that, and he rips it, he gets rid of it quickly. Good decision-making. He can run. I just thought if he had an issue, it wouldn't be ability. It would have been nerves. And I don't know about you guys. I did not see any nerves out there. I just saw a very calm, good quarterback.
You know, it's interesting is I like, and I've seen teams when they go to a backup quarterback and they're tentative or they're kind of protect him. And I get that too. But, I mean, let it rip. Right? Why not? It shows how prepared he was. It also shows the quarterback room under Sean Bell is pretty darn well. We knew that they're in great shape.
Absolutely. I mean, think about teams that have really had to come completely out of their game plan when the number one guy goes down. I mean, they change everything. They either stop throwing the ball or they get real conservative with dumping it with screen pass here and there and completely change the game plan. We didn't change anything. And as I said, you don't go for 4th and 6 with your backup quarterback if you're not pretty confident on the second play he's in the ball game. So I don't know you asked for anything better. 16 of 21, 137 yards, and basically half a game he went in with 59 seconds to go in the half. And it's not like they could go over there and say, hey, Blake, next series you're going in. It was hey, Bohannon's down. You got to go. So he had no time to warm up or prepare. And I'll tell you, the other thing I noticed, Smoak, is after the game that these players, I talked to Tyquan Thornton briefly, and they had great confidence in him. And I said, well, you made a good position play on the deep ball that Blake threw to you by turning your body, getting around, making the play, getting a foot down as a receiver. That's not an easy play. And he said, oh, it was easy because I knew where the ball was going to be. I knew where Blake was going to put it. So These guys didn't let up when he got in there, and I think it permeated through the whole football team. I think the offense was very comfortable to have him in there, and not many teams have two guys like that.
Ricky, as they headed to Texas Tech this week, that's a team, and they've got some sort of advantage with Joey McGuire being able to help them game plan and not, but that's a team struggling right now. How do you feel about the matchup as they head into the last week, needing to win and just kind of, watch what happens at Bedlam?
Yeah, they do. And I think the only thing about Tech is they are really unpredictable. We've seen them play some really, really tough football games, and we've seen Texas put 70 on them. I think that was really a little bit of a fluke, as we see at this point. But Tech's got some players; they've got the ability, and I think we'll have to be ready to play to beat them. And I would be shocked if Dave Aranda and this team, if they're not ready to play. I know they say Bohannon's day to day. I would bet on Chapin being in the game. I've had hamstrings before, and the thing about those is it's hard to tell when they're well unless you go full speed. And I don't think they take that chance with him just yet. But I would be comfortable with Chapin in there, no doubt. It's a home game. They're 6-0 at home. And it's not like they're not playing for something in November. They're playing for an opportunity at a Big 12 championship game. And I tell you what, guys, if I had to take one team or the other, I'd take Oklahoma State in the Bedlam game at Stillwater.
Yeah, I would too, Ricky. I think they're playing better overall, but man, you just never. Oklahoma has owned that game, and you never know with them. But I wanted to ask you from a player's perspective, when you're in a game like the one they were in on Saturday, where there's a lot of emotions, they're on the road, very physical, and you go through the not only the physical part of it, but just the getting through your quarterback getting hurt and now having to gear up and get ready for another game. What does a physical game like that, what kind of a toll does that take? Is that something that you worry about lingering heading into this week, or are they so deep in the season and so calloused up at this point that it's not as much of a concern?
Well, I think that can go either way, Craig. It's a good point. I think it can really wear on you and run into the next game and have an effect on you. I think we saw it in Abram Smith Saturday night. Abram wasn't healthy. You could tell that. He wasn't able to run the way that he normally does. He ended up with 45 yards, I think, and they were tough yards, and he ran hard with the football. We saw him really just kind of limp off the field a couple of times, really banged up. I know Terrell's banged up, but look, this is the 12th game, and if you can get this far into the season and not be banged up, you're pretty fortunate. I really think health-wise we've been pretty lucky so far, but I think they'll be fine. I think that they will probably ease into it this week, in that maybe Tuesday, Wednesday, let some of these guys that are bunged up a little take it a little bit easy and try to get their bodies as prepared as they can. But I'll tell you what, the way I've seen these guys and the way they play, and I'm going to be surprised if they don't have to rope them and drag them off to keep them from playing this Saturday, because I think they'll all be out there. And the other thing I was going to mention, Craig, the game, as I watched it Saturday, and Smoak, I got your text about how physical it was. Man, these guys were smiling and having a good time the whole game, and it's just almost an unusual sense on the sideline of, man, this is fun. And I think we saw it in basketball, how those guys liked each other, and they kept winning and they played for each other. But these guys fight their tails off for each other, and that's just really impressive.
Aranda cited the Juice Crew, some of the guys who are on the sidelines it's their job basically to keep the energy up, and we know it's been a problem on the road for them, but wasn't on Saturday. Could you feel a difference in the team generating their own energy on Saturday?
Well, you know what I did? I noticed those guys, particularly Tate, the offensive lineman. Mm-hmm. I knew I hadn't seen him on the road before, and then I start watching, not at the beginning of the game, I really didn't think anything about it, but as the game progressed, I noticed on kickoffs we had our crew over there waving towels and jumping up and down and like you do at home games, and it was Tate in that group. So I guess that's the only reason they brought them. But I tell you what, it worked. They were excited and jumping around, and I know Dylan Doyle mentioned it after the game. We were talking just briefly, and he said those guys really added some fire to the sideline and made it fun. But I mean, it's pretty impressive that they thought about it and brought those guys with them. I mean, you don't usually travel those guys that are redshirted for sure. So that's another impressive step this team's taken to get everything they can out of everybody in every game.
Thank you, Ricky. Appreciate it. Ricky Thompson, Baylor sideline reporter, former Baylor wide receiver, and also Washington football team, Redskins back when he played wide receiver. Think about this. If they win Saturday, it'll be 10 wins. Art Briles had a handful of teams that had 10 wins, and then he's gone. And then Matt Rule's third year, they had 11 wins. And Dave Aranda's second year, he could have 10 wins or more. There's a bigger goal than just what they are 9-2. That's pretty impressive with all the upheaval and change and transition that they've had to deal with their coaching staff. All right.
I want to comment on Eduardo, the Texas Tech fan that had an issue with what I was saying earlier about the fans throwing trash on the field and being trashy by throwing trash on the field. Eduardo had a comment because it's an easy thing to do, and anytime like any criticism comes from the direction of Waco, Texas, I guess, is to bring up the Baylor rape scandal, even though that's obviously been dealt with. But Eduardo, Jet Duffy, and if it was so bad, you just hired Baylor assistant coach Joey McGuire, and he's bringing staff with him. So, just wanted to point that out for you, buddy.
Yeah, Eduardo came in with a little hit and run. And
little heat that it was pretty cold, actually, because, again, Jet Duffy and how many games he played after the fact. And, again, you hired Joey McGuire from Baylor staff. So, good day to you,
When
buddy.
we come back, we're going to focus in on Notre Dame. They are playing well, but they have a problem. In front of them, Cincinnati, among others. But they are playing really well and just smoked